Classic. Super light. Alrighty. This is a Flagstaff Classic. Just for your own reference, we are here right there in northwest Georgia. Alright. You know where this coach comes from. I wonder where he's from. Can't remember. Let's go around back, see if we see a tag. Mississippi. All the way from Mississippi. Yeah, alright. Upstairs we go. Let's take a look at this fine machine. This is a sloper. I'm gonna see, I don't know if we're gonna be able to put this on in one piece. And you can see we had some trouble back here. That's why they put all that tape on there. You know, so hopefully there's no other damage down in there. We'll check it out when we tear it off, but obviously they had trouble around the vents to put tape around all of that. You got, well, we got to take the cover off of that one, but we'll check that one out. And then we got some tape around this one. While we're here, you see we got a little bit of stitching coming loose on the slide out. But you don't have to take this awning off. Maybe they had trouble with this one too. Ply foam roof. Ooh. Look at there. Look at that heavy duty roofing. Ooh-ha. That's all your fine RV crap is what it is. And more than likely right in the edge. See, when you start getting these little splits in here, you know, sometimes you'll just get maybe a tree branch track along there, but normally there's nothing. See, I got my knife. Normally there's nothing underneath this thing but like maybe duct tape or something. That's all they use to protect it. Oh, there's the duct tape. Yep. That's what it is. So they use this to try to, the duct tape that is, they use that to try to protect the edge a little bit. Because right underneath here, see, that's the siding. Here's the siding. And then you got the roof in there. So that's kind of like an issue, because the coach, as it's racking, it kind of chafes along there. And then their solution is just put some tape on it. But you can see we got some splitting here, some more tape. And look at here, gee whiz. Taper up. Got a wrinkle in the roof there. That's kind of problematic. And the reason this is, when you have certain, at least our material, this may have been able to lay flatter, but because there's no structure to this one. So ours is a 60 mil commercial grade TPO, which stands for thermoplastic olefin. And the thermoplastic, the thermoplastic all welds together. But that being said, you've got that transition down there coming up. I got this one coming over, and then this one drops down. I'm probably not going to be able to put this on in one piece, more than likely, because, and it's got camber. So you're asking that material to, basically it wants to lay, it'll lay two-dimensionally, but it doesn't really like three-dimensional. And that's what we're getting into when we start coming down there, and then we come in this transition and this transition. You got a lot going on, and that membrane will not sit that way, again, especially with the camber. So more than likely we'll have, we may even not doing this in 3 pieces, but when we do it, we'll have a 4-inch weld on there, and it'll be fine. It just fuses it back together, much like you'd weld metal together. So, you know, like steel or something. So, we'll go around the other side and show you this. And a lot of times, like this, if you look at the actual membrane itself, it doesn't look like that. It doesn't look that bad. The issues that you generally see are always coming from protrusions. Anytime there's a hole in something, it causes a problem because they can't seal it right. And if you look where to go on, like, let's say you go to Google or Brave or DuckDuckGo or whatever, and you keyword in commercial roof images, go do that search, and you will see all of these commercial roofs, and you'll see they'll have curbs. So the vent will be up on a box. They call those box curbs. You'll see the plumbing right here in a boot. you'll see if that was a wire, you know, you'd still see that in a boot. You'd see like the pipes here, if that was for gas lines, we'll say that would be in a boot. So all of these need to be in a boot. That's how it functions. They don't do that in an RVs. They just slap them on and go, hey, thanks for your money, see you, bye. And then the customer is the one that has to deal with it. And they say, hey, I got a leak. And it's not the membrane. So you'll get a warranty, and all roofing material works the same way. You get a warranty on the roof membrane, whatever it may be, 10 years, 12 years. And they'll say, well, there's nothing wrong with the roof membrane, so we're not going to replace that. You know, it hasn't failed prematurely. What it is an installation issue, and you didn't go back around and put more caulking, and more on, you know. That's a shame, because they didn't do it right initially. And you bring it to an RV center and you go, hey, I need a new roof. Okay, great. They'll put a new roof on it for you, and they're going to do the same exact thing. They're going to put on the same roof system. They're going to put it on the same manner, and they're going to say, hey, by the way, go back and slobber some more caulking on there every 3 or 4 months. That's crazy. You don't go around your house caulking your windows every 3 or 4 months. No one does that. You don't go put air in your tires every 3 or 4 months. So, let's see this one here. You can see a little bit of the stitching, but it's not bad. I just like to kind of document it, I guess. It doesn't look that bad. I wouldn't say you'd have to replace it. If you have a rusty screw in there, that's going to be a problem, because typically when these rust out, you got to make sure you do that nice and easy, because you've got a steel screw or a zinc screw, whatever, in aluminum. So it usually ends up breaking off, and then you got to argue to get it out of there so you can slide it out, because it won't slide out. That's the lock right there that prevents the awning from going left to right. So, all right. So then they also give you this cheap insert trim. All this stuff does is it just snaps inside there. That's all this is. We don't use this. We use another one that snaps inside and outside, but that's all this is. So, see, look at all the junk in there. It still gets in there. That's why I like the stuff that we use. But I've got to pay for it for sure. But it's a much better product, and you don't end up with this. So what's happening is you get like all the dirt and pollen and stuff is getting down inside here. Even though that's closed, it's still getting down inside there. Then it rolls all the way down. And if you have this, there's usually a screw down in here. And if there is a screw in here, see where it all collects? And then it can cause a leak. And some people say, I don't know where it's coming from. It could be coming from right there. It's just traveling down in there, and it wouldn't be a heavy leak. It would be more of what I call a chronic leak, because it's just really small. And it would take some time for it to show up. Usually if you see a leak in your coach, like when it shows up, by that time you've got some problems, because the roof deck had to absorb the water. Then in this case is a ply foam, but it would travel through the ply foam, and then the sealant panel would absorb it. By the time all that water's in there, you know, you have to, you've already got some damage going on. So I'm getting that. So yeah, there's a screw in there. You can see all that booger in there. So, but obviously we'll take all this apart. I don't know if we can clean this up. We'll keep it, but if it turns into more work than what it's worth, we'll just put a new one on. And then, you know, if we can salvage the gutter, we'll put ours in there. Like I said, ours will snap inside there, and then it has another, so it's got a groove, and then it'll be on top. It'll be on top of this, and it'll be inside that. And then definitely want to go around your windows, check all this stuff, check caulking everywhere. You want to do all that, you know, down around all those other windows, around that window, latches, doors. If water can hit it, you got to wonder, is it going to get into anything? So we're going to take this thing apart, and then we shall, obviously took the air conditioner off, and then let's see, we got up underneath it and get another roof on this thing. All right, so we have got the roof pretty much cleared off. There's nothing wrong with this decking at all. Nothing. I haven't found anything yet, unless it's hiding somewhere. But it looks fine. The whole thing looks fine. So if that being the case, we're gonna get a roof on it. Get some membrane on it. It is fine. So we just got a couple more things to pull up there, clean it up, get the turn bar off of there, get the one off the front, and we can start rock and rolling and getting some roofing on here. All right, so the big difference between this and some of the other ones, this fifth wheel is applied foam. It's not common that these are applied foam. you can't peel this up. A lot of the other ones you'll see we open them up, we want to check the trunk lines. Everything's all built into this foam right here. All the trunk lines for the AC, they're all built into it. So if we go, hey, you know, we're going to rip this up, all you're going to do is tear the foam. When you tear the foam, then you're asking for problems, because this is laminated all together. The ceiling, the foam, the roof deck is all laminated together at the manufacturer. So, and not the manufacturer, the coach, not Flagstaff or whoever this is, not them, but they order all these, and they come in and they tell them what the specs they need, and they're already done, and they're vacuum sealed. So that's what keeps them really tight. Once water gets in, that's what breaks the seal. So there hasn't been any of that. So you really, it's stuck. You'd be asking for a lot of extra work to try to tear it apart unnecessarily. So that's why we're not going to open it up. All right, so take a look at this right here. This is a factory right there. Look at that. So we put our roofing on there. It's going to look terrible. So we're going to try to undo all these screws and maybe get something up underneath it to get it to shape back. That's the plan. We'll see if it works. Well, here's our classic super light. It's all done. I'm going to go up there and take a look at the roof here in a second, but I wanted to show you something else here. All right. So all the, like the antenna and everything, all those, we always put those back in the coach for the customer. We just have to put the garnishments up inside the vent that go up there to kind of trace out the box where the vent is. That's the only thing we got left in there, but we always put all that antenna and stuff back. But in the back here, one of the big problems with these ladders is that when you go to step on them, these here, they'll jerk down. There's only 4 on here. So, you know, you got a guy who's pretty heavy. This thing is not going to hold its weight. So what we did, and I've done them to many others, let me get my little flashlight out here. We put these little pieces at the bottom and I rivet them back into the bumper. And what that does now is all that weight, obviously, all that weight that's going on the ladder, when I say all that weight, I don't know how big of a fella you are, or some of that weight, if you're a little petite gal, is going to get transposed down to the bumper instead of being taxed on these. So we want to put those in there, and then obviously everything's been sealed and so forth. So I'm going to go upstairs and I'll show you the roof and how it all come out. All right, there's us. So we got our logo on here. We put that on there so we can, when this coach comes back for inspections, if there's any issues with it, we know how old the coach is. Also, if he goes to sell this coach, then obviously, you know, some folks, they go, oh, those RV roofs, they don't even get up there, and they want to try and talk you down before they even come out and take a look at the roof. As you can tell, it's already an upgraded roof. But nonetheless, they can say, hey, we just put that on a few years ago, or whatever the case may be, right? So also, before I even get going, I want to thank the customer for bringing the coach to us. We really appreciate the work. And I try to remember to say that to everybody. I do appreciate everybody bringing their coaches to us. They come a long way, and we want to make sure we do them right. That being said, that's why we can't give dates on. A lot of folks say, hey, when can you get me done? I don't know. I don't know all what's wrong. This one wasn't really that hard. But I've got others in the other bays. I'm tearing floors and walls apart to get them put back together. So this particular roof, as it comes up, it goes straight and then it drops down. This is a commercial grade 60 mil TPO. TPO stands for thermoplastic olefin. So it's a structured membrane. This is the same exact material you're going to find on a hospital, on a library, office building, a restaurant. Same exact material. I'll buy it from the same supply houses. So this material only wants to lay two-dimensionally, and this roof is cambered this way, and then it's going up and it's going down. That's too much for the roof to do. The material will just start having bubbles and buckles everywhere. So what we did was we did it in 3 pieces. So we got one here, and we welded it all the way back here. So that's a pretty good size weld. And then we did the same over here on the front. So all of this is all heat welded, every bit of it. It's all heat welded. So all these curbs that I make, they're all heat welded. I build in a counter flash. This is a counter flash. It's up on the air conditioners as well. Every curb I design, and I've designed all of these. So the difference between this roof and a commercial roof is really the curbs. The curbs are designed so they fit and function for an RV. And there's other things that go with it, but as a rule, that's pretty much it. So that being said, if you get caught in a storm and that water is just running across the roof, a lot of failure you get from roof systems is no detail flashing, no curbs. If you don't have curbs on your roof, it is going to fail, period. I think it's RV Armor. RV Armor is had a video out, and I think we do have a video up there. I think it's called Even RV Armor Thinks We're Better or something along that lines. But I did that video a few years ago, and within the 1 minute mark, he was up there leaning against an air conditioner, and then his spokesman down here says, "Hey, tell them what we do about air conditioners." And he said, "Well, if this was a commercial job, it would be up on a curb with flashing and counter flashing." Well, so now he knows that, but he's not doing it, but he knows that. That's the proper way to do it. So that's what we did. This is all my design. This is your flashing. This is your counter flashing. So now you get caught in a storm, and that water is just pouring across. Again, a lot of the issues you have with on the RV is a lot of it has to do with erosion as well, and you got to figure all that water going across it will eventually start eroding something away. So this is basically going to prevent that. So now the water comes up, it's going to hit here and get redirected. You'll have water coming down this way, but you won't have actual flowing water coming in there, except for obviously raindrops and so forth. But you get my point. You're not going to have all that rushing water going across the roof. It'll get redirected around everything. You can see on this skylight here, we don't put any screws in. This is all glued down. These things, I can't warranty these, and it's a shame, but we have drilled these out, and then we took a center punch, punched it so it was the screw we put in would be in the absolute center, and drilled them out. And we did everything we could to minimize any fracturing, and we never had any luck with it, so now I just glue them down. So you can see on the air conditioner we got these stands on here, and then going along that lines of the counter flash that's up underneath there, up underneath the air conditioner is a foam gasket. So when the air conditioner is down, as the RV industry does it, all that water, all that debris, all that pollen and everything gets into the gasket that's up underneath, and then it dries it out. When it dries it out, then you're going to start getting leaks. And some people say all you have to do is go in and tighten up those screws, the bolts that hold the air conditioner down. And again, that would depend on the type of unit you would have. If you have one that does bolt from the ceiling down, some of these other ones, they actually bolt from the top and you have no access. But nonetheless, you can't just go in and willy-nilly just start pushing things down like that. It doesn't work that way. If the gasket is compromised and it's failed, you need to replace it. From what I understand, from what these AC techs have told me, that these really should be replaced every couple of years. But in this case, I mean, we have got nothing that's going to interfere with it. So now here comes the rain running down, and as it runs down, I don't want it to get back into that gasket. That's the purpose of this front counter flash right there. So now it's going to go down below the counter flash of my curb and roll out. So 2 strikes of caulking, down everything. This we did real wide because when they slobbered it, they just slobbered the heck out of it. We just wanted to make it look clean, that's all. But we got 2 strikes along here. We changed the insert trim as well on here, and then we put some downspouts on here, obviously, so the water can get away from the coach and not on the coach. And obviously, whatever we breached, obviously we go back and we reseal. Underneath all of these, all these screws, I don't know if I showed that on there. I'm going to see if I can pop this out without. So all these screws, they're all sealed. Every one of these screws got a little grommet of caulking around them, and that's important. You really want to have that on there. So this just snaps in. See that little groove in there? It snaps under the track. So now it's covering it that way and that way, so the water will roll right off into the gutter. On the other typical ones, it just snaps into the track and water just falls in that track. And if nothing's sealed, you can get, obviously the screws will get all rusty and so forth, and you get chronic leaks from that. So we try to do everything we can to minimize any, down the road issues. Again, this is all heat welded. It's all heat welded. There isn't any caulking. The only caulking you see is here, and that's not going to get affected by the erosion on there. So this is obviously the plumbing vent. I don't know why they put it there. That's crazy. This was a ply foam roof, so for us to just go in on other ones, if you've watched some of my other videos, when I see this, I try to move it. Who wants to smell their stink pipe? That's crazy. Who wants to smell that? You've got to be on a great keto diet to have that plumbing right here at your vent, especially if this is a draw-in vent, and some of them are. This may just be the bathroom one to exit, but even if you had it open to try to just get some air in the bathroom, like I said, you better be on a good keto diet for that. So also on here, we didn't need to put a fan in this one because when we inspected this whole curb, normally I'll put an exhaust fan here and I'll have an intake. I've done that a lot of the other ones. almost all of them. But this one had no sign of moisture, no sign of anything in there. So if we need to, and also it's foam, so for us to dig in there, I don't know if there's wires in there, I don't know what's in there, and I didn't want to start risking, you know, what may be in there and then find out the hard way, you know, we compromised a wire, now we got to tear apart more things. So on the antenna over there, this is a great antenna. You can see we made these custom boots right there, and there's another one, that one's there for the wire. That's all sealed with what we call a portable sealer, and it stays real flexible, super flexible. But those little boots we got on the side, and there's one on way underneath there, you can barely see it, but there's 3 of them. If there was ever an issue with this antenna not working, then all the customer has to do is come up here with a 9/16 wrench and then take that off, and then go into undo the coax, and then go into the store, get a new one. And you may have to make the original holes a little bigger, but just bolt it back down. So it's better than some of the other ones that what I call the bat wings. You have to take all that caulking apart. You have to take it. It's a process to take it apart, especially the way we put them down, and the adhesive we use would be a long process for that. So this, even though they're more expensive, they do have better reception from what I understand. I don't have a camper myself, and I've never kind of compared it to anything else, but from what I understand, they're supposed to get really good reception. A lot of my customers have given me some feedback and said they liked it better than the original. So, but anyhow, there's the antenna, another plumbing. What's great about our plumbing right here, these boots, there's no way, if a tree branch knocked that one off, it'd be hard for a tree branch to get this, but knock that cap off on that side, the water is just going down into your holding tank. It does not, it won't, with your typical RV, the plumbing, there's just that little cap there, and water will get down inside that cap and run down beside the pipe, and then it'll leak. So, that's about the gist of everything we got here. We did the same thing for the antenna over here, this radio antenna. We made a nice boot for that, and again, all that stays flexible. Even on the ladder side, we got those right here, and it's the same thing. So now as this ladder moves and shakes, that product right there is going to stay tight. And you can see on this back one here, we also do have those stands in the back like we do on the front. That just gives us some balance. And some people say, oh, you should make a whole entire curb, you can do this. You got to allow for drainage when water gets in here. You can't stop water. You don't want to do that. You want to give it another avenue, but don't think you're gonna block Mother Nature out. It's not going to happen. So you need to use it where you need to use it, meaning the product or the process or the the detail of it. But don't think you're going to go, hey, I'm going to prevent this. There's some stuff you can, but if you don't give Mother Nature a way out, it's just going to be a bad situation. So you're definitely going to get water through that grate. So if I had a full curb on there, where's the water going to go? Then I'd have to make some sort of drainage. So, and I've got a lot of guys out there that try to give me some advice. I've been doing this for a long, long time, doing commercial work and doing all sorts of architectural redesigns and stuff, where architects will put something together and it just doesn't function. Years later, we go back and we find out why it failed. So going along that lines, I mean, we've got a lot of experience with kind of regenerating something back to life, so to speak. So again, we got the 2 strikes going all the way down. The reason why we put 2 strikes along the caulking here is because when you run a caulking gun and you start squeezing it, you'll hear it pop and crackle. You just injected an air bubble. So when you inject an air bubble, now the coach is racking, twist, and flexing. And if it's racking, twist, and flexing, that air bubble could pop and breach. And if it does breach, then you got a leak. What are the chances of having one air bubble over another? That's why we do 2 strikes on it. So you can see how nice and clean those welds come out. Those look really good. And then we also went around the window. We try to do anything above our feet. So if there is ever an issue and a customer says, hey, I got a leak, well, it can't be coming from us. So, if you see it, it's going to be down there somewhere, right? So that's about the gist of it. Let me show you the product. And that's what this is TPO. And you can see those little squares in there. That's the reinforcement or the mesh that's in there. And you can see this little piece of nylon right here. That's the nylon mesh that's built into it. And it gives it strength against hail and even tree branches. So if you did get a tree branch hit this roof, then what you could do is put a hot patch on it. And you don't have to tear the whole roof up. I'm not really an advocate for your peel and stick roof tape. There is a little bit of a process to putting that down. You just simply don't peel it, stick it on. It's not going to last. But that said, you're going to get a permanent repair with the hot weld, So we'll just take a piece and just weld it back on. So let's see if I can find well, I already explained all the insert trim. So let's see if I was going to see if I had a piece to actually show you. Oh yeah, I do. Someone screwed it to the wall, so I'd have to get a screwdriver to show you. Well, maybe I'll just show you on the wall. There we go. See, I put that screw in there. And that's the way, actually that's the way we install them right there. See all that caulking around it? That's the way we install it. So this is what we have, and you can see, oh, this is what we have. See that little groove? That slides in this track. All right, this is what they have. And this doesn't, it just sits inside the track. So water can still get in there. Let me bring this back a little bit. Water can still get down inside here and trickle. So this will lock it out much better than this will. So that's why we put that on there. All right, that's about it. Okay, the maintenance on this, real easy. You can wash it down with any sort of dish detergent. If you want to come up here with a little pressure washer, you can do that, pressure wash it off, but just regular dish soap would just wash it up and keep it clean. And also the warranty. So our warranty, and this goes with any product out there, any roofing product, they are going to warranty the material, meaning the actual sheet you see on the roof. That's what they warranty. And they'll say, hey, this material is good for 20 years. So if the material shows what they call premature failing, then they will come in and say, okay, well, we'll replace it. Here you go. And they'll just give you enough to do the roof. Here you go. And then the labor is not generally covered under all that. On a commercial level, you can get different warranties that do cover all that, but we're never going to go in there. But anyhow, all the ones on your RVs, even these new ones, that when they say you got a 10-year warranty, a 12-year warranty, that doesn't mean it's not going to leak. That just means they're saying the material is not going to fail within 10 years or 12 years. Most of the time, almost all of the time, we see the problems are going to be from the vents, air conditioners, plumbing, any protrusion coming through. That's where you see all of your leaks that have come in because they're not done properly. And then you're going to go back and say, hey, I got a leak. You go, yeah, well, did you put some more of that Dicor on? Keep slobbering more on, moron. That attitude. And you'll have to go up there and babysit that roof. And even if you did do it, you'd really have to document that you did, how many tubes you bought, and all this stuff before they would even consider trying to, extend you a warranty on it and to do, to try to replace it. So all that being said, our warranty here at RV Roof Install, you bring this back to me in 30 days so I can see it. I want it to move. I don't want to just go around the corner and sit for 30 days and bring it. I want to see it move, rack, twist, flex. If I get another Flagstaff exactly like this, the same year, same model, it's twin brother, it's going to rack and twist and flex differently, just the way it is. So that being said, we do the initial inspection, and then after the initial inspection, once a year. It is free, so bring it in. It costs a lot to do these roofs. There's a lot of labor involved. There's a lot of, this material is a lot more expensive. So take advantage of that. Bring them back. Let me look at them. And if there's something that we need to adjust or whatever, I'd love to find it before it turns into a hot mess and you don't bring it back for 3 or 4 months. And it could be maybe that skylight, like I was mentioning. Maybe the skylight, you didn't know it. And if the skylight's bad, I'd rather address that skylight real quick than to wait for it to start rotting out all the roof underneath it. And you go, oh, I didn't bring it back. We do this day in, day out, so we know what we're looking for. And that's why I encourage everybody to bring them all back. So, other than that, we appreciate y'all watching. If you got any questions, you can give us a call. There should be a card at the end of the video with all our information. 423-475-7663. It spells out roof. 423-475-ROOF. We're right here in Fort Oglethorpe, Georgia, which is just below Chattanooga, Tennessee, a few miles. And you can go to our website, which is rvroofinstall.com. And again, all that should be on the card. We don't put any quotes on social media. And also, these are not DIY videos. There's way too much involved for me to do every little step to try to do a DIY on them. And, I have some guys that call me up and say, hey, what about this, that, the other? They're asking me about how to put screws. What screws should I use? What this? And then they tell me to do construction. Well, if you do construction, you should have some common sense in knowing what screws or what purpose they're designed for, what adhesives there are, and what sealants there are, the difference between an adhesive and a sealant. I can't go over all that stuff. So, and I would be on there all the time trying to answer all these questions. So just keep that in mind. And but other than that, we appreciate you watching. If you like the video, cool, give it a click. Other than that, we see you on the next package. Right. So in our care package, we have caulking, we got primer, we have got 2 patches. Those are heat patches. We got a patch peel and stick patch. We got a checker tool. We've got a magnet. And the rest of this is just pens, keychains, brush, nozzle. Okay, so if we have a hole in the roof, it will simulate a hole. You can do hole simulations. We say we got a hole there. Here's your tree branch come through and you're like, oh man, I got a hole in my roof, it's leaking. So what you want to do, and it's raining out. Right now it's raining, you're like, crap, I gotta stop that leak. You want to get in there, and if you can't get that nozzle in there, don't worry about it. Make it a little bigger. What you try and do, you need to get up underneath the roofing, like this. This is what we need to do, get up underneath the roofing. Then you're going to take and you're going to put this up inside there, and you're going to squeeze, 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 squeeze. Hopefully this thing is plugged up. There it goes. You squeeze, squeeze. You want to try and get up underneath this part too. Squeeze up underneath there. Get some more underneath there. Well, we are getting this thing all boogered up. Then what we're going to do, you're going to push it together. See how it oozes out? That's sealed. You're done. This is a moisture cured product. So what? It's a hot mess. Looks terrible. Who cares? Keep the water out. So now, the next day, we're going to go up there, and that's going to be cured looking like that. So we're going to take a knife, and you just shave it down. Just shave it down with a knife. I'm just going to obviously wipe this off. Now you say, hey, I want something a little better than that. So what we're going to do is get some cleaner. This is a terrible rag. You got another one. You got one on you? Oh, get a rag, get a rag, get a rag, get a rag, get a rag. Hey, what are you doing? What are you going to talk about, man? No, just leave it alone. Oh, leave it alone right now. We're recording now? Are we on?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Alright, so now we cleaned it off with a knife. I just washed that off because it's still wet. Take that off. So now we got a patch. This is a peel and stick patch. We're going to take that, we're going to center it over there. Just take a pen and go around like this. I like to kind of put a dash like that so I know who's where, what, and where, and how. So now there's what I got. So in the package we got primer. We also have a brush. You're going to take that, you're going to go all inside the square. You're also going to go outside this square about 3/8 of an inch. Outside about 3/8 of an inch or so. Once you get that, there's a film on the back. You peel the film, now you know which side you are, see, that's because there's your marks. And you peel that film back. Get the fingers in there to get the film off of this thing. This is just a regular roof tape. That's all it is. We put them in all the care packages. Get that daggone thing off of there. Probably need some fingernails. Probably help. Come on. There it is. Okay. There it is. Now you got the film. You take that film. So now we're going to line it back up with this. We already got the primer under there. You just peel the film back, and as you do, you just rub it down like this. Sometimes that film will get a little stuck in there. This is just a butyl. You just kind of try to keep it as even as you can and flat as you can. Boom, you're done. There it is. So now, out here, this is where your primer is. You put the primer on there. You got primer there, and now you're going to put primer here. You want to prime all this area with your brush. Prime all that. Then you're going to come back. Once you get it all primed, then you're going to put a little bit of caulking on it, just like this. That's simple. If it doesn't all sit in there, you can always take your finger and go around it if you want. We're trying to obviously stop a leak and make one of. There's going to be a little more permanent of a patch than just that plug that we did when it was raining. So now that we got that all done, the whole purpose of it is this part here. This part underneath here, that's a butyl. when the sun hits that, if you didn't have the caulking on there, it will cause it to release and curl up just like I'm doing here. And it'll start coming loose. That's why you need the primer. That's why when you prime it, you're going to prime on top of this, because nothing will stick to it. Nothing, the caulking will not stick to this patch, and it won't stick to the roof unless you use the primer. That's how you do a patch. Ta-da! All done.